out there? Welcome to Real Estate Overtime. I'm Josh Nastal with Homeowners Financial Group.
I'm Nevin with eXp Realty, Loyalty Home Group.
I'm Jason Hubbard with eXp Realty, Loyalty Home Group, and ASAP Appraisal Services.
It's like NASCAR.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel a little inept now.
That's all right.
With my lead in there, jeez. Well, hey, last time, let's jump right into it. We were talking about kind of a hodgepodge, actually, of stuff. We were giving a market update. You guys gave some great information about buying. Springtime is going to heat up, is what all three of us are thinking. And we talked a little bit about the interest rates and things like that, inflation. Let me throw a new topic out to you guys today. What do you think, and this is for both of you, what are the top three things an agent needs to do right now to be successful in this market? What are the top three, if you had to give advice to anyone listening out there?
That's a great question.
Loaded or no?
Yes and no. So it's not even about now, it's about always. So,
okay.
First and foremost, and I've said this for years, right? If you don't have anybody to work with, you're out of business, right? The hardest part about real estate is finding people to do it with. I've been doing this for 20 years and I've never sold a house. And I mean that in the fashion that I can't force you to buy something you don't want. You either like the house or you don't. My job is I can point out the benefits, the negatives, here's what needs to be done, here's what you could do with it. But at the end of the day, ultimately, you're the one writing the check for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
So if I don't have people to work with, then I'm out of business. So I would say one of the number one things that agents need to do is they need to figure out a time in their day to do some sort of way of doing outreach.
Okay.
And pick whatever it is that they want to do. There's 100 different ways to reach out to the community and find a way to attract people to you, or go, reach out to people who are looking to buy or sell.
What's one way you guys do that?
Well, I mean, one way that we do that is, we're video, with this,
Gotcha.
we want to inform, we want to educate, we want to let people know what's going on in the market, we call it adding value. We're like other agents, we pay for advertising.
Okay.
We want to let people know, hey, we're here to help you if this is something you're looking to do. And then of course we've got our past clients, our sphere of influence.
Okay.
So I would say that would be one of the most important things agents need to do. But
Lead gen, basically.
Yeah, lead generation. Yep. But the sidetrack of that is being purposeful about it, having a time to do it on a daily basis, and not getting distracted by everything else. And that's the hardest part, is how do I do this consistently?
Getting rid of the noise, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and everybody has a different niche. So some people like to cold call people, right? Some people like to call people that have already shown some kind of interest, whether it's through an internet lead. Some people like to spend their time calling past clients. At the end of the day, however you do it, it doesn't matter. As long as you do it and you do it consistently.
Right.
I've seen you do it.
And you guys don't know anything. Boom. You guys don't know anything about generating internet leads, geez. You guys are pretty good at that.
Yeah, we got that one down.
Awesome.
Your phone's blowing up all day. Like, geez, these guys just have more leads coming in.
More leads. What about number two?
Organization. I keep going back to that. Systems, processes.
Huge one, yeah.
Understanding how to roll through the process. I worked at McDonald's, right? That was my first real job, besides the paper route when I was 10. But I remember, even the paper route, right? It would get delivered. I'd go in, I'd roll it, I'd put it either in a rubber band, or I'd put it in a bag if it was raining. I would load up my bike, and then I would go on a bike ride, and I would just deliver the newspapers.
Gotcha.
So that was my process, right? So with McDonald's, you're standing there at the fry machine. It's like, okay, you got the fries, all right, open the bag, put it in the basket, drop it in, push the button. Stand there, beep, 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 take it out of the basket, push the button. Beep, 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 take it out, then a couple shakes of salt, you're done. And you scoop, system. You could just do it over and over again. And so here I am, this 15-and-a-half-year-old kid. I had to get a work permit through school to go work there. But they took a 15-year-old kid and said, here you go, and within an hour I'm making food for people.
I wonder if that's why they're so successful.
Yeah, it's
systems and processes.
Yeah, so you have to do the same thing in real estate. What's your system? So I got a new person who calls me, whether it's a referral from a friend, whether it's an internet lead, whether it's somebody from a video, wherever it comes from, what's my process? How do I work them through the system? Because it's not about an assembly line per se, it's about making sure that if Jason, let's just assume he's somebody who's referred to me, I don't ever want him to feel like he's just a number. We've all called that contractor, we've all called that whoever, and you're like, oh, they're too busy to call me back.
I'll give you I know it's your guys' little space here, but I'll give you a perfect example of that. Yesterday I got a contract from a Florida client, a vet.
Okay.
He called me and said, hey, I got your name and number from a different realtor, not even representing him.
Oh, wow.
And he said the way that, I'm not gonna give the mortgage company's name, but the way that they've been treating me, they never follow up with me, they never call me back. He said, I had to send him an email saying, no thanks for your business, I'm gonna go look for other opportunities. That's when they finally called him back.
Talk about the email you forwarded me this morning from your past.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I mean,
that was insane reading this.
Well, I reached out, so I had a listing, after 120 days or so.
It was right as the market
came on the market.
shifted, though.
This came on the market in July, right when the market started diving. We were priced appropriately. We kept dropping the price. In October-ish, we set a plan, and that plan was for, once we got into November, we were going to take it off the market, and then we were going to put it back on in January after we got past the holidays, because you kind of knew what was coming in our market, right? So we ended up canceling right after Halloween, just like we talked about. And what happens when you cancel a listing?
Your phone blows up.
Not your phone, but the seller's phone blows up. She got reeled in by another agent. It got sucked in, and she signed it. And so they took the listing, which was okay. I still reached out to her and I said, hey, I understand this is what happens. And
once it was closed for full disclosure, so it was outside of agency?
Well, even,
But yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't try to take it back from them
No,
at all.
yeah.
I basically said, I understand what you're doing. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you sell it. Hope she sells it for you. It gets you the most amount of money. Anyways, she ended up closing. She kept dropping the price, which I could have dropped the price.
Who suggested that, I bet, to her?
Yeah,
You,
right?
right?
Yeah, I kept trying to get her to come down to where the market was and be out a little bit in front of it. But sometimes sellers are reluctant, especially coming out of that market that we were just in.
Right.
Yeah.
But the other agent was
That's
able
very
to
good. It's a
talk
good
her
point.
into
Really good
to
point.
dropping it down really low. She finally got it sold. I reached out to her and I just said, hey, I want to congratulate you. You accomplished exactly what you wanted to do, and that makes me happy, because that's what I'm here for, is just to help you do that.
Right.
You did it with somebody else, but I'm still happy for you.
Yeah. Professional thing to
She
do.
responded back and was like, I'm not happy with the way my other agent did it. I should have gave you more of a chance.
Wow.
I should have listened to you when you tried to
She
get
felt
me
like
to
she was
reduce the
steamrolled
price.
into doing it.
Yeah.
I felt she felt like a lot of things just happened not the way she wanted to. But she said, I'll be referring you out to other people because of the way you handled it. So, I mean,
That's everything.
honestly, at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is help people.
Took the high road.
But not every agent is the same.
Right.
And you gotta take the high road, because, sometimes closing a deal isn't even about that deal.
No, it's about
One
what
deal can
could
lead to
be.
20 deals.
Yes, 100%.
So, that's where we're leading right into this number 3. I don't know what you have for
I'd
it,
be
but
interested
for
to see
me,
what yours, yeah.
follow-up.
Yeah.
It's all about follow-up. What's the thing
Yeah.
that agents do the worst?
We've heard it 100 times. I mean, you probably get the same thing where it's like, you need to call Barb, like,
Right.
she's ready to go, and then, hey, did you reach out to Barb? Oh, yeah. So the agents will they'll get a call, or they'll get somebody's information. They'll call that person 2-3 times, and we hear it all the time. Hey,
We've
did
heard
you?
it on our team. We've had multiple agents.
Yeah,
say it.
like, hey, what's going on with so-and-so?
Right.
Well, I left him a message. I haven't heard back from him yet. And I'm like, have you called again?
Yeah.
Well, no, they'll call me. No, they're not going to.
No.
They're busy. They have a life. And I can show you probably 50 times in my life where some outside contractor or something in the outside world that I needed a service, the person who got my business was the one who stayed in touch with me.
Gotcha.
Yes,
7 to 10 times is my rule.
Yeah,
Ours
and
is
honestly,
20.
do you
20.
Yeah.
time block your calls? Do you have?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Every day.
It's every day, every single day. And I think that's the biggest problem that agents have with their level of success. The more you do it, the more you time block it, the more you do it every single day with consistency, the more sales that you're going to have.
It's the instant gratification mentality where it's like, they only want the low-hanging fruit.
Right.
Where it's like, well, I called and left a message. Right, I called and left a message. I called and, like, no, but you got to call again.
Right.
Don't harass them by any means. I mean,
No,
we've
it's-
all, we talk a lot about this on our team, is we've all gotten that phone call where you look at your phone and you're like, this number has called me 4 times today,
Right.
and I'm not gonna answer it.
Yep.
We're not doing that. Like, and I know there's some real estate teams out there where they do that, and they call it the 10 days of pain, and they're like, we're just gonna get this,
Yep.
that's
10
what they
days
call
of
it.
pain.
And it's a real thing, Google it, right? And there's agents out there that's their mentality, like, we're gonna pound this, we're gonna get these leads, and it's like, I'm just trying to reach out. So like our follow-up program is not that aggressive to where we feel like we're annoying people.
Sure.
And we barely have anybody, like our leave me alone ratio is probably less than 1%
Yeah,
of the
that's
people that
pretty
we
low.
reach out to.
Gotcha.
So, and that's very purposeful.
So to recap that, number 1 was outreach.
Absolutely.
Try to get an audience, try to work your sphere.
Yeah.
2 was organization,
Mm-hmm.
and 3, follow-up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
You agree? Is that what was your number 3?
That, I mean, the follow-up, because
Okay,
that's,
cool.
you know, one of the first things I learned in this business was 80% of my business was gonna come from the follow-up, not from the initial outreach.
Oh, you never get a
And-
sale usually on the first call.
Oh.
Yeah.
It rarely happens.
More listings than none that I've ever taken in my life. I'd be sitting down with a seller, this is back in, you know, originally in my mind, I always go back to, okay, I'm gonna come over, we're gonna do the paperwork, now we do
Sure.
it all digitally. And as I'm going through the paperwork, they'd always be like, you're here because you kept in touch with us. And I met with 4 agents, you're the only one who kept in touch with us.
You still meet with them in person for the listing initially though, no?
Initially, yeah, but when,
Yeah.
you know, nowadays with the paperwork, you meet, you know, I'll meet with somebody and just say, look, you know, I'll have my transaction coordinator, she'll take care of all the paperwork, you'll get it over, you know, we'll
Yeah, I
have that for
personally-
you first thing in the morning or
I
whatever.
personally don't try to get them to sign anything when I meet with them.
Gotcha.
No,
If they want to, I'll have it to them in 10 minutes by
Yeah.
sending it to them, but I don't actually bring it for them to sign it. I
No.
will bring them a blank one so they can read over it, so they know what we're gonna be
Yeah.
going over, but that's about
Almost
it.
a takeaway close, huh?
Yeah.
well, I mean, how many times have you been in a sales situation where you're like, look, I just wanna think about it? Or,
Right. Of
you know,
course.
even worse, not that he's my spouse, but, you know, I wanna talk it over with my wife, right? Like,
Oh, of course.
I've
yeah,
been in, I just remember this one time, we were looking for a bed for our daughter, you know, it was her first bed out of the crib, and we're at the store, and I even told the guy, I said, look, you know, we wanna talk about it, because it's not just about the price, it's not just about whatever, is this gonna, you know,
Work. in
is
the
this gonna
house.
work for
Sure.
us? How's this gonna fit in the room? Is this a 5-year solution? Is this a till she's a teenager and moves out of the house solution? That's the conversation we wanna have.
Right.
And we're trying to talk, and the guy walks away, not 30 seconds back, he's like right back in here. So, what do we guys decide? I'm like, we're outta
We
here.
decided we're leaving.
yeah.
Yeah.
like,
So
we're outta here.
I have a quick question, Josh,
Yeah.
and I know it's a topic change, but we finished the last episode talking about what you think about what the spring is.
Mhm.
What do you think about right now? Like, how do you feel about right now? Is right now a good time to buy?
Right. I think to answer your question, and then I'll get into some information about that, I think it's gonna be a way better time to buy
Now.
than the spring.
So
Correct.
even if rates are a little higher, you think now's a
Correct.
better time than the spring?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you why.
Cool.
And you guys can support me on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Once I hear it.
Like we talked about in the last call, and I'll recap it last episode, I'll recap it really quick. Right now, you can get below asking, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Or, guess what? You don't have to pay over,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Which-
Yep.
And I'll get back to that. Right now, you can get a reasonable close, a 30-day close. You don't have to close in 14 days and waive appraisal, waive inspections, all that, right?
Right.
Right now, and I see this on almost every contract, you're getting seller concessions,
Mhm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing that people are gonna say is it's not a good time to buy right now is why? Because of rate.
Right.
But let me bring it full circle. So when inflation, we talked about this in the last episode, when inflation starts to come down, rates are gonna come down, okay? When rates come down, you're gonna have an explosion of buyers, okay? And you guys talked about this, we don't really have the correct amount of inventory, right?
We still haven't, adjusted back to where
Correct.
we need to be.
Less than 16,000.
So
Yeah.
you're gonna throw an explosion of buyers into a not so hot inventory situation, okay?
Deja vu.
You're gonna,
Yeah.
exactly, the market's gonna shift like we've seen,
Mhm.
right? Like we saw, it's ever shifting, that's what we do, it goes up and down.
Yeah.
But the market's gonna shift, and it's gonna become, what?
It's gonna be
Buyer's
seller's
market.
market again.
Yeah,
Seller's market again,
Yeah.
right? And what's gonna happen? You're gonna have to pay over again, right?
Mhm.
There's gonna be less homes again, right?
Mhm.
You're not gonna get closing cost help. You're gonna have to waive appraisal, you're gonna have to waive inspection. like we talked about, it's gonna be a perfect storm, and there's gonna be so few options, you're gonna be back where you were buying 2021, first part of 2022, right?
Yeah.
Well, even
So-
that being said, like you showed a chart last time that the seller concessions is at 50%.
Mhm.
In 2018, 2019, before things went haywire, it was up to 60 to 70%.
Right.
So even with everything we've experienced over the last 9 months with the rates going up, we still don't see,
No.
it's only gonna go one direction.
Right.
So one person could say, okay, spring will be nuts. Do you expect it to be nuts come July? And I would say personally, I expect us to be back more into our seasonal type of
Mhm.
market. However, so then you would say, well, why don't I just wait then until July? Because prices will be what?
Higher.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
prices will be higher.
I mean, and you guys talked about it in the last episode too. You're not, even right now, you're not seeing the negotiation power you had,
Yep.
It's
Even
already
three-
disappearing.
3 months ago, right?
Not
Yeah.
even a month ago.
Month
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, and I get this, and it's a big part of it, the interest rate, right? We get that. But here's the thing, if you buy with us, I'm gonna give you a certificate that gives you 5 years to refinance completely free with us, okay?
Nice.
5 years, there's 0 fees, no lender fee. You'll have to pay your escrows and title, but there'll be 0 lender fee, no points, anything. And that's a certificate we'll hand to you at closing. So if you're worried about the rates, right? You've got this certificate that gives you that peace of mind.
Yeah.
So let me just bring it all together. What's better? Buying now at a lower price.
Yep.
Maybe paying for a few months a little higher interest rate, but then getting that home that you really wanted, refinancing it at a rate that's attractive,
Yep.
and then you're happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
and furthermore, I mean, this is a whole nother episode, but you don't have to have a higher rate.
No.
There's programs out there.
I was
where
just
you-
gonna talk about
Yeah,
the
it's, I mean,
temporary
I don't know
buy-down,
if you
yeah.
wanna talk
Yeah.
about it now or later, but there's so many different programs to where, okay, if the rates are 5.5, you don't have to have a 5.5 rate.
I'll touch on that briefly. So there's a program called the 2-1 buy down. It's a great program. Was created just for what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the only reason it was created. It was used years ago for builders, and we haven't seen it forever. But it was brought back to retail, banks, everything, just for the scenario we're living in right now. You can negotiate with the seller, right? Because you're getting seller closing costs. They can pay for what's called a 2-1 buy down. And what that means is, let's say today your rate is 6%, okay? For the first year, it's gonna be 4%. The second year, it's gonna be 5%. And then the third year, it's gonna stay at that 6%. The coolest thing about this program, though, is all that money that was given to you from the seller to use to buy that rate down is refundable to you if you don't see the maturity of the 2-1 buy down.
So if you refinance out of it 6 months later.
So let's put it into a real life scenario. Let's say you get a house today,
Mhm.
right? You get it for, it's listed for 500,000, you get it for 480, right? You get it 20,000 under. You use the 2-1 buy down, okay? Your rate's 4% for the first year. Let's say in August, you refinance with me. So what is that, 16, 18 months of unused buy down? And I can't give you the exact number, but let's say that's 10 grand. That 10 grand is gonna be refunded to you and applied directly to your principal balance. So when
Nice.
you go
That's
to,
huge.
so when you go to refi, you're not only gonna get a lower rate, your balance is gonna drop by 10 grand.
Yeah.
See, and this is where we've talked about whether, our conversations with our buyers is, do you, they're like, oh, I want the price down. And I was like, well, if you're not using like a 2-1 buy down, so
Right.
some people are just trying to buy down the rate just,
Yeah, but-
statically. And you did the math on this, but if I get $10,000 from the seller to buy down the rate, the second I close, that $10,000 is only used to buy down my rate.
And it's gone.
Right, and so when you go to sell, you're gonna be like, oh, I should've gotten a $10,000 price reduction. Whereas what you're telling me with this 2-1 buy down program is you're basically getting that $10,000.
Correct?
What do most people
Towards
look
buying
at?
down the balance.
What do most people look at when they're buying a house? What are they concerned about?
Payment.
Monthly payment.
Right.
So,
Correct.
and let's just take, and I know this is not a solid number, but if you take a $400,000 home and you talk about buying it down 2%,
Oh, I have
If you were
that
just gonna
exact
guess,
scenario.
$400 bucks a month?
It's about $700.
$700 a month. So now, disclaimer, you have to qualify at that
Yes.
rate.
Yeah.
You have to qualify
at the
at
higher
that, that higher rate.
At the permanent rate.
So,
correct.
but
Yeah.
anyways, to end, there's great programs out there that most people just don't know about, and that's
Right.
the reason that we have these kind of conversations, is so that you can just learn about these different programs.
Yeah.
And as agents, it's our job to have these conversations with our lenders that we're working. That's why we have preferred lenders, because otherwise I'm out there shooting blind, you know. And I don't know all the answers, but I know enough to say, look, you need to talk to Josh
Right.
about this 2-1 buy down program, because I know you ran your mortgage calculator on, whatever
Higher
website.
rate, sure.
They went to some website, they ran a thing, like, oh, it's gonna cost me $2,800 a month, and I was like,
Could be
well,
less.
could be less. Talk to Josh, there's some great programs that can get you in there without too much issue.
Right.
And that gives us better negotiating power when we're working with the seller and the seller's agent, because now I can educate them and say, look, this is what we're doing, this is why we need it. Because rewind to 2019, we've been asking for seller concessions for years.
Right.
And the idea was that if you took a first-time home buyer, they're like, okay, I'm gonna do FHA, I've got enough to save for my 3.5% FHA down payment.
Got it.
I just don't have the money for the closing costs. And so
Right.
our scenario was like, look, we'll have the seller pay your closing costs, and then you'll come up with the money for your down payment. And we'd always have to fight over this part, because the seller was always like, well, that's not my fault they don't have the money for their down payment.
Nope, I hear you.
Now, they're in a situation where the seller understands that the biggest stumbling block for the people buying the house is the rate.
Right.
So they're willing to pay down the rate, and now it helps us educate the seller's agent to say, look, I can't do it
I
at
totally
1.5%.
agree with you.
I
totally agree
need
with
the
you.
2.5%.
Yeah. You wanna
Otherwise,
wrap
there's
this
no deal.
episode up with a quick, what's the benefit, do you guys think, of having, or if you were an agent out there, of not being on a team? What's the benefit of being on a team?
Oh God, there's so many, so there's not really a way to do this quickly, but there's so many, honestly. So I did it before by myself as a newer agent before I came to a team.
Okay.
You couldn't get any footing. You just don't know what you don't know. So once you get going and you get on a team.
You talking about support?
Support.
No support, okay.
We had an agent join the team a month or two ago, and she asked, well, where are you struggling? Well, I'm reaching out to these people, I'm not getting any response. Well, how many times are you contacting them? 3 times. Well, there you go, boom, that's one thing right off the bat. We fixed that already.
Now she has
She's
listings.
talking to people every day, she has listings. So
Yeah.
that's just one small instance. The systems and the processes, a lot of the things we talked about in the last episode, those are all things that you learn with teams that are almost impossible to learn on your own.
Gotcha.
So I recommend for every new agent, a team is an absolute must.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes
To
sense.
learn.
I mean,
Yeah.
even when it comes to your work, a guy is not going to go out and start his own business as a loan
No.
officer without learning how to do it. You join a team, you learn.
A team, a company.
Yep.
You have a leader, and that's, I think, what it.
And we
it
only
also
have so
boils
many
down
hours
to.
in the day.
So
Right.
the fail rate for agents is over 80%, and it's
80%?
because
Wow.
most of them don't know what to do, and they think they're going to figure it out on their own, and
Probably
they
get
just don't.
discouraged quickly too.
Yeah, big time.
What about just the, fellowship too, part of it?
Well,
I
and
mean, you guys-
that's kind of where I was going to touch on, because like you said, I mean, we could do a whole episode on this.
Right.
I've been in both, right? I've been a solo agent, but I've been on teams longer than I've been solo
Okay.
after 20 years of doing this. And what I can tell you is I have a certain amount of business that I can conduct on my own.
Okay.
And so if I can do, let's just call it as a basic number, if I do 40 deals a year as an individual agent, I'm considered a rock star
Okay.
in any market. Any individual agent doing 40 deals a year is a rock star.
Gotcha.
How many, 98,000 sales last year or something like that? We average about 90,000 sales per year in the Phoenix metro area inside of our MLS.
Okay.
40 is like a pin drop. So how much of the market do I really understand if I'm only doing 40 compared to the
Gotcha.
overall market? And so you start to align yourself with agents who are doing similar, like, less, more, whatever.
Right.
And so now we're representing a bigger number, and then we plug into the company, and now we're representing an even bigger number, and we're listening, and we're talking, and we're masterminding. And so
Knowledge.
now I have a better knowledge of the
Gotcha.
market, And so when I've got buyers asking me, how's the market, I'm not just going, well, I'm busy. You know, giving an honest answer. So for me, that's another big piece of the team is the combined knowledge.
Gotcha.
And, you know, I don't really work with as many buyers as I work with sellers, and we have agents who prefer buyers on our team versus sellers.
Gotcha.
And so I'm learning what the buyer's feeling by my conversations with those agents. So it helps
Bouncing ideas off each other is what I'm hearing,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's a huge benefit in my opinion.
Yeah, and there's so much more.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll pick that up in the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We can
okay.
lead right in with that.
For
Cool.
sure.
Well, signing off here from the Real Estate Overtime Show. See you next week.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Bye.